I grew up in the Swiss Alps. We are known for having a strong character, which is a nice way of saying that we have a bad one. More than 500 years ago, the inhabitants of my mountain valley invented the ancestor of the Swiss direct democracy. When they didn't agree with the tyrant in power, they dug out a tree, they carved a face on its stump, and they carried the tree from village to village. They explained what was wrong with the tyrant and motivated the villagers to rebel. Every citizen who agreed with their complaint hammered a nail into the stump, which was called a matza. As soon as there were enough nails on the matza, the rebellion could start. It was in its way the beginning of a referendum, but sometimes it seemed less democratic and more like a bloody fight for power. Talk about having a bad character. When I was 8 years old, I launched my first petition. At that time, we had a 6-day school week. I liked school, but I also liked to climb trees and read my books up there. 6 days in school seemed far too much to me. So I asked my father how I could fix that problem. He explains to me the political system of Switzerland, with its direct democracy, its referendums, and initiatives. He told me that I had 2 options. I could launch an initiative, collecting signatures and getting the whole population to vote on my idea. But then I would have to wait 10 more years, as I was too young to launch or even sign an initiative. I was hugely disappointed. My father went on and explained the second option, a petition. The outcome is less certain because you don't exactly know what the authorities will do with your petition, but there is no age limit. It was worth a try. So I wrote down my petition, copied it hundreds of times in my father's office, and took my best friend to Main Street. We collected signatures every day after school until our political adventure ended abruptly. My friend's mother had complained that I was influencing her politically virginal daughter. I went back to climbing trees. And today, I still climb trees sometimes, but my obsession with democracy in politics ended up becoming my job. I'm the Chancellor of State of Geneva. Similar to a chief of staff in the US system, I'm in charge of the administration of the government. Basically, it's my job to organize and promote the exercise of democracy. Democracy seems to be in trouble these days, and not only in Switzerland. Disillusion is to be found everywhere. Young people most of the time don't vote. In Switzerland, less than 3 out of 10 under 30 years old vote. And the group which votes the most are people between 70 and 75 years old. Populism is growing in several Western countries as the people get more and more disillusioned with the very leaders they elected. Faced by political and economic uncertainty, people with similar views end up in homogeneous groups sharing the same reality bubble. They no longer question their beliefs or confront themselves with other views. Easy victims for companies who influence political decisions for money by using a combination of big data, psychology, and micro-targeting on social media. How can we bring back a democratic debate in which our different opinions enrich each other? To heal democracy, we need to empower citizens. And to do this, we first need to enhance transparency, because there is no trust without transparency. In Switzerland, we vote a lot, at least 4 times a year, often more, 360 times in a lifetime. In Switzerland, direct democracy is a big deal. We are in a continuous voting campaign, an ongoing dialogue between the authorities and the citizens. Elections and votes require trust. Trust in candidates, trust in authorities organizing the elections, trust in processes and tools. The electoral system in Switzerland is very transparent. Ordinary citizens can be involved as officials who count the ballots, as members of the Electoral Commission overseeing the process, or they can observe with their own eyes how the ballots are processed on voting Sunday. Transparency isn't easy. It requires courage and determination, especially for public authorities. Transparency is great when you're cutting ribbons at public ceremonies. It's far less appealing when there is a problem and you have to admit it. However, you can't be half transparent, just as you can't be half pregnant. 2 years ago, we organized the election of government and parliament on the same day. We were a big team, over 1,800 people, most of them regular citizens that we trained for the occasion. It was an industrial process, as we counted at least twice every ballot with the names of the 100 candidates on them. A huge task. During that incredibly complex process, a single ballot got lost after the first data entry. Just one ballot. Imagine the reaction of my staff. They had worked so hard for months. They had imagined all possible risks and scenarios. They had already been working for 28 hours without sleep. And there was just one little tiny ballot missing. A small spot of spaghetti sauce on a bright white wedding dress. Now, some people in the office felt it wasn't necessary to tell the world that there was a missing ballot. After all, the result was very clear. 16,000 votes separated the two leading candidates. But it was very clear for me that we had to inform the Electoral Commission and the media as soon as possible. Think about it. If you hide one ballot, tomorrow you could hide maybe 5 or 20. Where do you draw the line? How can people trust you if you hide a missing ballot? Authorities have to be transparent. And this transparency is an opportunity for citizens to take back what is theirs, political power. This is why a couple of years ago, we initiated the process of going open source with our e-voting system. By e-voting, I mean online voting, not voting machines in a polling station like in the US. You vote remotely, wherever you are, on your personal computer, on your tablet, on your smartphone. Geneva is a pioneer in this field, as we held the first online vote in the world in January 2003. We have a great system, publicly owned and developed. But having a very secure system, state-of-the-art, one of the best in the world, is not enough. People won't trust the system just because you tell them that it's great technically. Since 2010 already, our source code has been accessible on request for all citizens using it in Switzerland. The Pirate Party and the university had also reviewed the code. But we wanted to go even further. There is no system built by humans that doesn't involve risks. Think about planes or nuclear plants. In the past, security meant hiding or locking up a system. Today, I'm convinced that openness provides security, as the risks unfold are open to scrutiny and can be addressed. So we decided to go open source, collaborate with hackers and citizens to show them that it's not someone else's tool, but our democratic tool. We opened the doors so they didn't have to smash the window to gain entry. It was a bold step. Public servants were scared that the intellectual capital they built would be stolen. Politicians were afraid that it would be easier for hackers to access the system. We had to convince them that even if it seemed counterintuitive, going open source is not only necessary for the sake of transparency, but it's also essential to ensure the system's security. It wasn't easy, but we weren't alone in our battle. We organized several workshops with hackers, political scientists, philosophers, journalists, for the successful opening of our source code. These were moments that built trust between the participants. Public servants didn't act as representatives of the authorities. They discussed directly with citizens at the same eye level without hiding behind their institutional role. And in co-creating with citizens, we realized that transparency is not only our goal, but it's also the way to achieve it. In December 2016, boosted by the confidence of these exchanges, we published the first part of our source code on GitHub. Today, Geneva is the only authority in the world that has an open source online voting system. The interest shown by the community was remarkable. More than 500 people joined the group, and some contributions have already been implemented. Just yesterday, we published the second part of our source code, and I hope that all of you will have a look at our code and help us to make that great system even better. I'm convinced that democracy should not depend on commercial interests of private companies. By going open source, our public system has become a common good. Any community can use it for free with only two conditions. They have to be open source themselves, and they have to be willing to share with the community their own developments on the system. This is a step towards the renovation of democracy, greater transparency and empowerment of the citizens, provided everyone plays their part. To heal democracy, we, the public authorities, have to provide the fullest information and the best tools to engage citizens actively. And I fight for that every single day. We, the citizens, have to individually and collectively speak up while staying rational and not allowing ourselves to be blinded by fear or anger. Transparency is necessary, but it's not enough. We citizens have to take the power and act. Just like the proud villagers in the Alps who took their destiny into their hands, we have to ask ourselves what we really want and express our views on the issues that are important to us. I have a nail. You have a nail. We all have a nail. But what do you do with it? You keep it in your pocket? You throw it away? You give it to someone else? Or you hammer it into a matzah to build a house, a village, or a community? Let's brandish a matzah or launch a petition to change our world. In that way, the power of the people will be stronger than the people in power. Thank you.